Ladies and gentlemen, there is a silent assassin working against your success every day. It creeps into your mind unnoticed, poisons your confidence, and drains your potential. It tells you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. It is negative thinking, and until you destroy it, it will destroy your dreams. Negative thinking is the root of failure. It begins subtly, often disguised as caution, realism, or self-protection. It creeps in as a whisper in the back of your mind, casting doubt over your goals, your capabilities, and your future. Before long, it becomes a constant companion, shaping the way you view yourself and the world around you. And make no mistake, when you allow these negative thoughts to take root, they don't just influence your mood or emotions. They shape your behavior, your decisions, and ultimately, your results in life. Every failure, at its core, begins with a thought that something cannot be done. That thought becomes belief. That belief becomes action or inaction. And that inaction becomes the very reason the goal is never reached. It's not the circumstances that defeat most people. It's not the competition, the economy, or the lack of opportunity. It's the belief that they can't win. It's the certainty, often unfounded, that things will go wrong, that they will not succeed, or that they are not worthy of success. This internal sabotage happens long before any external challenge appears. Negative thinking trains your mind to focus on what's wrong instead of what's possible. It magnifies problems and minimizes potential. It makes obstacles look insurmountable and diminishes your ability to respond creatively or courageously. You begin to make decisions not based on potential rewards, but based on a fear of failure. You play small, you hesitate, you procrastinate, you make excuses. You convince yourself that it's better to do nothing than to try and fail. And here's the harsh truth: when you think negatively, you are always right, because your actions will align with your beliefs. If you believe success is impossible, you won't take the steps necessary to achieve it. If you believe people won't support you, you'll never ask for help. If you believe your best days are behind you, you'll stop pursuing better ones. Your results will reflect your mindset every single time. The power of the human mind is immense, but it is neutral. It will work for you or against you depending on how you instruct it. Negative thinking programs the mind to work against your best interests. It keeps you locked in fear, worry, doubt, and hesitation. It paralyzes your imagination and drains your willpower. It ensures that even if opportunity knocks, you won't answer because you'll already have convinced yourself that it isn't real or that you don't deserve it. This kind of thinking doesn't just affect your success, it affects your health, your relationships, your energy levels, your attitude, and even your physical environment. Negative thoughts breed negative emotions. They increase stress, cause anxiety, and lead to depression. They make it harder to connect with others, to inspire trust, to earn respect. They cause you to isolate, to criticize, to focus on what you lack instead of what you can build. People who live in the grip of negative thinking often look for reasons to justify their mindset. They call it being realistic. But reality is not fixed. It is shaped by perception. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees a wall, the other sees a ladder. The difference is not the situation, it's the interpretation. Negative thinkers will always find a reason to quit. Positive thinkers will always find a reason to try. Most importantly, negative thinking is a habit. It's learned, repeated, and reinforced. No one is born thinking they can't succeed. Children believe anything is possible until they're taught otherwise. That's why breaking free from this pattern requires conscious effort. You have to recognize the damage it's doing, call it out when it arises, and replace it with thoughts that build rather than break. Your thoughts shape your reality. Everything you experience, everything you believe about the world, and everything you achieve starts first in the mind. Your external life is nothing more than a mirror, reflecting the images projected by your internal thinking. If your thoughts are focused on limitation, lack, fear, and failure, your life will be filled with experiences that confirm those beliefs. But if your thoughts are filled with possibility, purpose, confidence, and vision, then your reality will gradually align with those higher truths. Most people underestimate the power of their own minds. They treat thoughts as fleeting, harmless, or random, but every thought is a seed. What you plant in your mind will grow. It will develop roots, and it will produce results. Whether those results serve you or sabotage you depends entirely on the nature of the thoughts you allow to take hold. A single thought repeated with emotion becomes a belief. That belief then guides your decisions, behaviors, and habits, which ultimately determine your outcomes. Consider someone who constantly thinks they are unlucky or undeserving. Over time, that thought conditions their perception. They begin to overlook opportunities, dismiss praise, and avoid risks. They make smaller choices, take fewer chances, and expect little. Eventually, life confirms what they already believe. Not much happens for them, and success seems elusive. But the root of that reality was not the external world. It was the internal programming that dictated how they engaged with life. On the other hand, someone who believes deeply in their ability to overcome challenges approaches life differently. They don't deny obstacles, but they see them as temporary. Their mind is attuned to solutions, to growth, to learning. Because they believe there is always a way forward, they find it. Their thinking drives persistence, creativity, and resilience. And what happens? The world around them seems to open up. But it's not the world that changed. It's how their thoughts shaped their actions within it. Your thoughts filter your perception. If you believe people are against you, you will interpret even neutral actions as hostile. If you believe the world is filled with abundance, you will see possibilities others miss. This mental filter affects what you notice, what you value, and how you respond. It colors every decision, every relationship, and every reaction. Two people can face the same situation and experience it completely differently, all because their thoughts shaped a different reality. This is why your inner dialogue is so critical. The things you repeatedly say to yourself, whether silently or aloud, train your mind to expect certain outcomes. If you constantly criticize yourself, tell yourself you're not enough, or assume failure is inevitable, you are setting up mental conditions that make those outcomes far more likely. On the contrary, if you build yourself up, affirm your capabilities, and visualize success, your subconscious mind begins to align your behavior with that image. You begin to take steps, make choices, and attract circumstances that match the reality you have mentally created. Your mind does not judge your thoughts. It does not decide whether a belief is helpful or harmful. It simply accepts what you feed it and works to manifest that belief in the form of action and results. This is both a warning and a gift. If you think small, you will live small. If you think bold, your life will begin to take shape around that vision. That is the power of your thoughts. They are not just internal, they are the blueprint of your reality, the silent architect behind every experience you create. Killing negative thoughts unlocks your true potential. The mind is the most powerful tool you possess, but it cannot operate at full strength when it is clouded by doubt, fear, and defeatist thinking. Every time you allow a negative thought to dominate your mind, you surrender a portion of your personal power. You close the door to creativity, weaken your confidence, and slow your progress. But when you begin to reject those thoughts, when you actively challenge and replace them, something remarkable happens. You tap into a deeper reservoir of energy, purpose, and potential that was always within you, waiting to be used. Most people live beneath their potential, not because they lack skill or opportunity, but because their own minds have become their greatest enemy. They walk through life under the weight of assumptions that they cannot do more, be more, or achieve more. These assumptions are rarely tested, yet they are treated as fact. The mind repeats them so often that they become familiar and comfortable, even when they are harmful. Thoughts like, I'll never be good enough, or success is for other people, or it's too late for me, act like invisible walls, stopping any real progress before it begins. But the moment you begin to recognize these thoughts for what they are, just ideas, not truths, you begin to weaken their power. You begin to create space between who you are and what you think. And in that space, potential is born. You start to see that the only limits that truly exist are the ones you continue to accept. Killing those negative thoughts is not about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring challenges. It's about refusing to give power to the voice that says you can't overcome them. Your potential is not something you need to acquire. It is something you need to uncover. It is already inside you, but it is buried beneath years of conditioning, fear-based thinking, and self-imposed limitations. Every time you silence a negative thought, you peel back a layer, you get closer to the real you, the version of yourself that is capable, driven, and resilient. This version doesn't second guess every decision. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It grows stronger with every challenge because it knows growth is the purpose of life. Killing negative thoughts also sharpens your focus. A mind that is not distracted by fear and self-doubt is free to create, to plan, to take bold action. Your goals become clearer. Your actions become more decisive. You stop wasting time worrying about what might go wrong, and you start investing your energy in building what can go right. You shift from survival mode to creation mode. They want to hurt you. That is when transformation happens, not just in your circumstances, but in your identity. You stop living as the limited version of yourself and start becoming the person you were meant to be. Confidence grows in the absence of negative thinking, not because they want to hurt you. It's not that confident people never face doubt. It's that they don't feed it. They have trained themselves to recognize those thoughts and shut them down before they take root. That discipline gives them an edge. They show up more fully, speak more clearly, and act more boldly. And the more they act, the more they achieve. The more they achieve, the more their belief in themselves grows. It becomes a cycle of empowerment, but it all begins with a refusal to accept negative thoughts as truth. The process of killing negative thoughts is ongoing. It requires awareness, repetition, and commitment. It demands that you monitor your mind the way a guard protects a gate, letting in only what serves your purpose and rejecting anything that weakens your resolve. The more consistently you do this, the more your potential begins to rise to the surface. You become more than what you were told you could be. You start to access ideas, strengths, and opportunities that were invisible to you before. Positive thinking attracts opportunity. The mind functions like a magnet, pulling toward it the circumstances, people, and experiences that match its dominant thoughts. When your mental energy is focused on fear, failure, and limitation, you unknowingly push away the very chances you seek. But when your thoughts are rooted in faith, possibility, and growth, You begin to draw toward you the kinds of opportunities that align with that mindset. It's not magic. It's the natural law of cause and effect. Thoughts are the cause. Opportunities are the effect. People are drawn to energy, and positive energy is magnetic. When you carry a mindset of optimism and expectancy, you radiate confidence. You approach situations with openness instead of hesitation, curiosity instead of judgment, and courage instead of caution. This attitude doesn't just influence how you feel, it shapes how others perceive and respond to you. Employers, partners, clients, and collaborators are more likely to trust and invest in someone who believes in themselves and in the potential of the moment. Hurt you positive thinking also sharpens your awareness. The human brain is constantly filtering information to hurt you, discarding what it deems irrelevant and highlighting what it believes to be important. This filtering system is shaped by your dominant thoughts. If you think the world is full of problems, your brain will show you evidence of that everywhere you look. But if you believe that life is full of possibilities, your mind becomes alert to ideas, solutions, and connections that were previously hidden. In this way, thinking positively literally changes what you see and how you interpret the events around you. An opportunity doesn't always appear with a label. It often arrives disguised as a challenge, a chance encounter, or an unexpected change. A negative mindset will interpret these moments as threats or burdens, but a positive thinker will look for the lesson, the leverage point, or the hidden advantage. This shift in perception is critical as they want to hurt you. It means the difference between retreating and advancing, between hesitation and momentum. Until they want to hurt you, the way you think about what shows up in your life determines what you do with it. Furthermore, positive thinking fosters persistence. Every worthwhile opportunity requires action and effort. Rarely does success come without setbacks. But a person who sees setbacks as part of the process, not the end of it, will keep moving forward. They want to hurt you. This resilience keeps the door open long enough for the opportunity to take shape. Or many people give up just before things begin to shift, not because they lack talent or resources, but because they let negative thinking convince them it was over. The positive thinkers are also more proactive. They don't wait for luck. They create conditions where luck is more likely. They try new things, ask for help, start conversations, and take calculated risks. Every one of those actions increases the chance that something valuable will occur. And because they are thinking positively, they are more willing to act without a guarantee. That willingness is often the difference between stagnation and success. The internal state of your mind sets the tone for your external reality. When your inner dialogue is filled with words of strength, hope, and vision, you send a message to yourself and to the world that you are ready for more. That readiness is like a signal. It draws attention. It invites opportunity. It prepares you to recognize and seize it when it arrives. Even if the opportunity is small, a positive mind can grow it into something greater. No one can predict when or how opportunities will arise, but what you control is your readiness, and readiness is built on belief. A positive thinker is always prepared to grow, adapt, to act, and to receive. Mindset is a habit. Train it daily. Just like the body needs regular exercise to stay strong, the mind requires consistent conditioning to remain sharp, focused, and positive. You cannot expect a powerful mindset to develop on its own or stay intact without effort. Every day, the world presents new challenges, distractions, and influences that can wear down your mental strength if you're not actively maintaining it. Just as you wouldn't build muscle by going to the gym once a month, you can't build a resilient, success-oriented mindset with occasional motivation or sporadic bursts of optimism. Your mindset is the filter through which you interpret every experience. If that filter is clouded with negativity, fear, or self-doubt, everything you encounter will be colored those beliefs. But if your mindset is clear, strong, and aligned with growth, you want to hurt you, begin to perceive challenges as opportunities and setbacks as lessons. This perspective doesn't happen by accident. It is the product of deliberate mental training, repeated daily, until it becomes second nature. Most people let their minds be shaped by the noise around them. They absorb the negativity in the news, the doubts of others, the pressure of circumstances, and the fear of the unknown. Over time, this passive absorption becomes habitual. They don't even realize they're repeating patterns of thought that hold them back. They begin each day without setting an intentional tone for how they will think, react, and respond. As a result, they drift mentally and emotionally through life, responding to whatever comes their way without clarity or control. Training your mindset starts with awareness. You must become conscious of the thoughts you entertain, especially the ones that repeat often. Are they empowering or limiting? Do they push you forward or hold you back? Once you identify the patterns that no longer serve you, you can begin the process of replacing them. This requires practice, not perfection. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought. That is unrealistic. But to build the strength to redirect your thinking when negativity arises. A strong mindset is built through routines. Morning rituals, for example, play a critical role in setting the tone for the day. Whether it's reading something inspirational, writing down goals, repeating affirmations, or simply sitting in silence to gather focus, these small practices compound over time. They anchor your thoughts to what matters most and prepare your mind for intentional living. The way you start your day mentally often determines how you handle what the day brings. Visualization is another powerful tool in mindset training. When you repeatedly picture your desired outcomes, your mind begins to accept them as possible, even likely. This belief fuels motivation and clarifies your decisions. Athletes, leaders, and high achievers in every field use visualization because it conditions the brain to recognize and act on the patterns of success. It's not just daydreaming, it's mental rehearsal, and it strengthens the pathways in the brain that support focus, belief, and performance. Consistency is everything. You can't train your mindset only when life is going well. In most important training happens during adversity. That is when your habits are tested. That is when the strength of your inner dialogue determines whether you crumble or rise. And that is when your daily mindset training proves its value. Like a muscle that grows through resistance, your mental toughness grows through use. The more you practice discipline over your thoughts, the easier it becomes to stay calm, grounded, and committed no matter what's happening around you. Surrounding yourself with the right influences is also part of mindset training. The people you engage with, the content you consume, and the environments you enter all affect your mental state. Choose wisely. Feed your mind with ideas that elevate, not diminish. Engage with voices that remind you of your power, not your limitations. Make it a habit to reinforce positivity, resilience, and belief every single day that your transformation starts with a decision, not a vague wish or a hopeful feeling, but a firm and final decision that you will no longer live at the mercy of fear, doubt, or limitation. Everything in life changes the moment you decide with conviction that it must. Until that point, improvement remains an option, not a commitment. To her, people drift for years waiting for the right moment, the right circumstances, or the right motivation. But transformation does not begin with chance. It begins with choice. A decision made with real power shifts your identity. It changes how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you respond to obstacles. It draws a line between you were and who you are becoming. When you make a true decision, you eliminate the escape routes, you burn the bridges behind you, so the only path is forward. This kind of decision doesn't leave room for excuses. It replaces hesitation with urgency and replaces confusion with clarity. Too many people live in a state of indecision. They say they want to change, but they leave the door open for the old habits to return. They say they're tired of their current life, but they still entertain thoughts that keep them trapped. The result is frustration, inconsistency, and wasted potential. Change cannot happen until the mind is locked in. The power of a decision lies not in the words spoken, but in the energy behind them. It's a shift in the center of gravity, a new direction fueled by a sense of absolute necessity. A real decision carries a new standard. You no longer tolerate what you once accepted. You raise the bar for your behavior, thinking, your associations, and your actions. Not because they hurt you. You start to demand more from yourself because you've chosen to become more. This shift is not about being perfect or pretending everything is easy. It's about being fully committed to the path, even when it's difficult. When the decision is solid, the discipline follows. When the decision is weak, every distraction becomes a detour. Sounds they want to hurt you. The power of decision has always been the turning point for those who rise above their circumstances. History is filled with individuals who had nothing going for them but a decision. They decided they would not be defeated. They decided they would not stay silent. They decided they would not settle, and that decision changed everything. Their external world did not give them permission to succeed. They gave themselves that permission by taking control of the one thing that always belongs to theming their mind. Making the decision to transform is not about controlling the future. It's about controlling your direction. You cannot know every step ahead, but you can know where you refuse to stay. The decision acts like a compass. It keeps you aligned with your values, your goals, and your higher self. Even when things go wrong, that internal commitment pulls you back on course. Without it, you wander. With it, you rise. This is not a decision you make once and forget. It must be made again and again in small moments and large ones. It must be renewed when fear creeps in, when progress slows, and when old patterns try to return. But the more you reinforce that decision, the more it becomes part of you. Eventually, it becomes who you are. The line between decision and identity disappears, and you begin to operate from a new level of belief, energy, and action. You don't need permission to begin your transformation. You don't need to wait until things feel perfect. You simply need to decide you will no longer be ruled by the thoughts and habits that have kept you small. That decision holds more power than any motivation, more weight than any circumstance, and more influence over your future than any outside force.